Welcome to the Morning Report, a production of fightbackmedia.com, the #1 source of urban conservative information in America.
Well, good morning. My name is Willie Lawson, and this is the Morning Report. It's time to wake up, time to sit up straight, time to get your coffee stirred, not by emotion, but by facts, by clarity, and by good old-fashioned common sense. Again, welcome back to Morning Report from fightbackmedia.com. Okay, today we're tackling an incredible thing. And I don't mean your Aunt Cheryl's sweet potato pie at the family reunion, because that's something else. Although that'll give you a toothache too. But I'm talking about a story that exposes the not so sweet decay inside academia. The growing push to silence any voice that doesn't conform to the narrative. You know, when I had my interview with Andrew Breitbart way back in the day, Andrew said that whoever controls the narrative controls everything. So these people are trying to control the narrative, and the voices that don't conform to that narrative are your voice and mine. Let's talk about the Male Supremacy Studies Conference, recently held at the Institute for Research on Male Supremacy. Yeah, that's a real thing. Somebody got paid with a straight face to name the entire academic conference after that phrase. Now, it's an academic conference after that phrase. And guess what? It quickly spiraled into a discussion of fringe ideologies, into a full-blown how do we shut up conservative symposium. Let's be clear. If some guy is genuinely out there preaching the idea that men are superior to women and they deserve unchecked power, nobody endorses that. It's not even conservative. It's just wrong, unbiblical, and idiotic. And frankly, people like that are few and fortunately far between, and not usually very persuasive. But that's not what this conference turned out to be about. This wasn't a seminar about fringe domestic abusers or incel forums. It was a platform for some of academia's brightest and most bitter minds to openly discuss the deplatforming and censorship of opposing political views, all wrapped up in some academic doublespeak. Dr. Kay Coghill, a professor at Virginia Commonwealth, remember the name, Coghill, Kay Coghill, stated, and I quote, "We need to put material consequences behind this. We need to be more aggressive about what sites and forums are allowed to exist." Think about that for a minute. I'll say it again. This is Kay Coghill, who says, we need to put material consequences behind this. We, that means them, need to be more aggressive about what sites and forums are allowed to exist. So she's not talking about monitoring threats or criminal activity. She's talking about banning entire platforms, places where people talk, where people exchange ideas. She's advocating for censorship, not as a last resort, but a strategy for cultural change. Now, of course, who gets to decide what's allowed to exist? That's the million-dollar question. And if it's up to people like Dr. Coghill, maybe your church live stream, or your conservative blog, or maybe even the Morning Report might be labeled as harmful and targeted for deletion. Now, Dr. Coghill went further complaining about Elon Musk allowing Donald Trump and others back on X. She said this: once something is deplatformed, they should remain deplatformed. That's the power of deplatforming. So once somebody is out, they should stay out forever. Imagine believing that the key to a better world is permanently banning someone from expressing their ideas. That's not democracy. That's authoritarianism with better branding. And she's not alone, unfortunately. Patrick Hermanson from Hope Not Hate, a group that ironically hates hope if it comes from the right, also chimed in to support this view. He bemoaned the fact that right-wing voices have found alternative platforms like Rumble and Substack and Truth Social and Fightback Media. He called the strategy of censorship less effective now. Translation: dang it, the peasants found a way around the castle walls. Time to ban pitchforks. They're not trying to debate us. So, when people start talking about, well, we have to have our arguments together. So they're not trying to debate us. They're trying to erase us. What's disturbing is not just that these ideas are being thrown around, it's who's throwing them. Professors, researchers, nonprofit leaders. These are the people shaping the next generation, the folks educating your children, creating policies, white papers, testifying in courtrooms, and influencing government. And they're essentially saying, we don't trust regular people to think for themselves. We need to control what they see, what they hear, and what they read. That's not education. It's indoctrination. Well, and here's the kicker. They do it all under the banner of protecting democracy. You can't make this stuff up. If George Orwell were alive, he'd be suing for royalties. Let me tell you something. You don't protect democracy by silencing dissent. You don't advance truth by banning opposition. And you sure, as Sunrise, don't fight extremism by becoming the extremist. So this idea of permanent deplatforming is particularly dangerous. Think about it. That means no second chances, no room for growth, apology, or change. Once you're labeled problematic, you're off to the digital gulag forever. Well, why would they do that? To scare the crap out of everybody else. Today is someone you don't like. Tomorrow is someone you respect. The next week, it's you. That's the kind of logic that leads to loyalty oaths, blacklists, digital ghettos. It's a cyber version of burning books. Only now we're burning people's access to communicate, earn a living, or challenge power. Oh, yeah. Now here's where it gets really revealing. Dr. Coghill doesn't just stop at banning books or banning speech. She said this strategy could be used to disrupt capitalism. That's right. The real target isn't just your free speech, it's your freedom to earn, to build, and to choose. That's the playbook here. Use censorship to crush dissent, then use that silence to push a radical anti-capitalist agenda without anyone in the public square to argue the other side. It's censorship in the morning and socialism by lunchtime. It always starts with just a few extremists, until the definition of extremist includes anyone who goes to church, reads that Constitution thing, and prefers steak to soy. Now, let's take a quick walk down history lane. Every oppressive regime in the modern era began with silencing dissenting voices, not with tanks in the street, but with ideas that were no longer allowed to be heard. The Soviets did it. The Nazis did it. Mao's China did it. Every time it started with people who believed they were, quote, doing the right thing, end quote, by silencing the wrong ones. And every time they were wrong. And millions of people paid the price with their lives. So do we really want to repeat that playbook? Because really, make no mistake, silencing ideas, criminalizing platforms, punishing thought crimes won't lead us to a better society. It'll lead to gulags, brown shirts, and cultural rot. So what do? We speak up loudly. We support alternative platforms, not just because we need them, because the diversity of thought is oxygen in a free society. We teach our kids the real value of debate, disagreement, and even discomfort. We call out hypocrisy every time someone who says diversity is our strength tries to cancel someone who simply thinks differently. We call it out. We say that's hypocrisy. And we vote, not just with ballots, but with dollars, clicks, and conversations. Support businesses that believe in freedom. Share media that won't be bullied. And challenge your neighbors to think critically, not just comply. All right, let's close with this. Free speech isn't a conversation, free speech isn't a conservative issue. It's not a liberal issue. It's a human issue. When we start handling power over to people who want to control what we can say, we're not gaining protection. We're giving away freedom. We cannot let ivory tower elites decide who deserves a voice. We cannot surrender the digital public square to people who fear debate. And we sure as heaven cannot let the next generation grow up believing that disagreement is danger. Because the moment we do, the moment we stop talking, that's when tyranny begins to win. So stay loud, stay clear, stay bold, and for heaven's sakes, keep talking. My name is Will Austin. This has been the Morning Report. Till we see you again, go out there and learn something, love somebody. And for goodness sakes, y'all take care of yourself. We'll see you next time. Bye now. Billy Graham famously said that he believed that the next move of God would be believers making a difference in the marketplace. So in the fall of 2019, the founders of 7 Weeks Coffee moved to DC. They began their careers in the political arena. And two things became abundantly clear: that neither side of the aisle were operating by godly principles. And so many organizations were putting profits before people. 7 Weeks Coffee was started to reverse this trend and live out Graham's calling for us as believers in the marketplace. As a value-based business, 7 Weeks Coffee has a very simple and transparent mission: donate 10% or a tithe of every sale to pregnancy care centers across the nation. They are committed to earning your trust and not expecting it. So how do we get this done? Leading with our values, showing the impact and providing the highest quality product. You guys know that I'm a Christian and I'm a conservative. And 7 Weeks Coffee unapologetically supports pregnancy centers across the nation. Join us by letting your coffee serve a greater purpose. So all you have to do is go into the description box and click on the link to 7 Weeks Coffee. Delicious with a purpose.